Welcome back to NRI Wealth Builders. This is our 7th episode, and today's topic is where should NRIs retire? US, India, or both? And which currency should you build your retirement corpus in? But just a quick disclaimer before we get started, everything we discuss on this podcast is based on our own experiences, opinions, research, and conversations. We're not financial advisors, tax professionals, or legal experts, and nothing in this podcast should be taken as professional financial, legal, or investment advice. Always do your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any major financial decisions.
Hey everyone, are you both, either of you, planning on retiring in India, or do you expect to remain in the United States?
I definitely see myself staying in the US since I was born and raised here. It's all I know. So yeah, I don't see myself going back to India for retirement at all.
I'm torn between both the countries. I have kids here in the US and I have parents in India, believe it or not. I'm doing this podcast from India, taking care of my parents. For a long time, I could not make this decision, US or India, and I was wavering. Now I made the decision that just for the future generation, I want to be in US, but I don't think I can completely escape it, right? I can't say 100% I'll be in US. So my situation is different. My family lifestyle is different. So I think I'm leaning towards living in both the countries. So that's my situation.
Yeah, I think I'll have to agree with Nishi. I was born here. I lived in India for 1 year and it was just so different. I think it's a culture shock for us, even though we visit so often. Visiting and living is very different. So I think I would definitely choose to retire here or probably somewhere else.
You went to school for a year there, right?
It was elementary school, but it was very different, I would say. I feel like it was just I picked myself up and got thrown there, and it was just very different. But it wasn't bad in any way, just academics are more rigorous. Lifestyle is just different too.
I think it's 6 months in India, 6 months in US, and I think I'll be spending remaining time recovering from my jet lag, right? It takes so many days nowadays to recover from jet lag. What impacts this decision? Where do you retire? Does it really matter? For me, family comes first. What do you guys think? I'm making this decision based on my family, where they're going to be, and whom I want to spend time with, and all that.
Yeah, I think I do, of course, agree with that. Whereas proximity to family and in case of it's not just seeing people and hanging out and having memories, it's also in case of an emergency or if you need people to, where is that community you've built for yourself? So that's why even when my parents talk about where are they going to retire, I'm you've spent the past 20 years building a life for yourself here and friends, community, and everything. So it's a little difficult to pull yourself away from that too. Friends and family.
I agree. I feel when my parents talk about it, before they used to talk about how their parents were there and everything, and now they're like, oh, if we have grandchildren, we have to make sure we spend enough time in the US too. And so, yeah, I think family is definitely a very big factor, whether it be family in India or in America.
Yeah.
I think there are other things to consider as well, right? If you just look at the retirement, the biggest expense here is housing expense, right? In US, are you still able to manage the housing expense, taxes, healthcare, all these things make an impact to your retirement? But thing is, can you afford them when you are ready? You don't have any income, right? Those all things matter. Healthcare is one of the biggest expense, right? I was trying to get a quote of health insurance here in India while I'm here. And for 3 years, the whole health insurance, they will cover anywhere in the world. It's for around $200,000. They will cover anywhere in the world. And I'm paying maybe $6,000 for the whole insurance.
Wow.
So it's so affordable here, right? So I don't know how many people know it, but healthcare can be really affordable in India, but in US it can go into hundreds and thousands of dollars, and Even
Yeah.
after that, you may not get care
Hmm.
sometimes. But it's just what it is, right? We just have to take how the facts are. But I wouldn't just move only because my healthcare expenses are less, right? I think it's just another factor for sure.
I feel
Mhm.
like I know people like take surgeries and stuff in India instead of moving directly because surgeries that are hundreds of thousands of dollars here are only thousands of dollars there or something. That might be an option
Mhm.
too.
That's a good point. There's a huge medical tourism kind of thing,
Hmm.
especially in naturopathy type of things, which are not covered by insurance anyway, and cosmetic type of things. The people go to India and get it done. So, but going back to our topic, I think there are a lot more things to consider to which will impact our decision to retire. And most important thing is how much do you have in a corpus to retire?
Mhm.
And what is the, yeah, people might say, oh, why should we actually plan this? See, there are some assumptions. Oh, why should we actually do this? I think I'm going to retire in India. I made enough, and that's it, right? So you're making a lot of assumptions there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
One of the biggest assumptions, can you um, guess what is the biggest assumption people make
Mm,
while planning for retirement?
That the
just like in
market's always going
any,
to go up.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big one.
They assume I mean, I also do that, assume that the rupee to dollar to rupee ratio is constant,
Hmm.
right? It's not constant, it's been changing and it could change in the opposite direction, right? We have no control over it. It might change in the same direction, right? Today it is 95 rupees, approximately, give or take. Uh, but it could be 200 or it could be 30. Are you ready for that? You can't make assumptions.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So it is very important. The markets need not be the same. The political climate need not be the same. So I think we should check these assumptions. And, one of the biggest assumptions with respect to family is that my family, my kids especially, are going to study in US or India, right? You
Mhm.
you you make those decisions, and that will be very, very uh, important. That's for your planning. And what do you do if those change? I think everything changes around it.
Hmm.
So do you have any examples to share from your life or your friends, Sri or Nishi?
Hmm. Like when it comes to
So
like,
I have an
oh
example
yeah,
Okay.
go
while
ahead.
you're thinking. Uh, so one of my friends, very close friends, he had his green card and he was like, "Nope, I'm going to India. I'm not coming back. I'm never going to come back. And my kids are going to grow up in." They were the kids were U.S. citizens, and my kids are not going to come back. I'm just made this decision. That's it. So I told him, don't do this. Don't do this. To get your green card, get your status, and then decide. If you don't come, that's fine. But he just ignored my decision. And then what happened that his daughter grew up, and once he wants to go to college, he wants to come back and study in US.
Mhm.
Now he wants to support her. At the age of 50, I think approximately 50, this happened 5, 6 years back. So at the age of 50, he had to come back to US, find a job. And imagine it's not that, you know, it's just tough to survive just having a job. So he has to support his kids and all that. I
Hmm.
don't think the bloke will ever retire, right? It's just unfortunate, but I think you should be really clear and understand where your family wants to do, where you want to go, and what you want to do. way upfront. So I think my appeal is validate your assumptions. This could be very expensive mistake either way, right? If you want to retire in US versus India, what are the pros? What are the cons? What does your family want? What do you want? What are the healthcare expenses? All those things will kind of influence the decision.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Um, so let's talk a little bit about pros and cons of retiring in US.
Yep.
Maybe Nishi, we can start with you.
Yeah.
What do you think? Of course, you're born here, raised here, and what do you like mostly about retiring in US?
Yeah, I feel like for me, most of the reason that I think I want to retire in the US and something that our audience might think too is the familiarity of it all, right? I've been living here personally for almost 28 years now. I know everything, the way that people work here, the way that businesses work here, the way that the job market is.
Mhm.
Like, I'm more aware of everything here. All my friends are here. If I go back to India, that's just a whole new, it's like dropping me in a whole new continent. I speak the language, but I can't read any of the signs, any of that stuff. It's a very different environment to be in. And I feel like that's kind of enough reason for me to stay here. And I feel like a lot of NRIs, if their kids stay in America, they end up deciding to stay in America for a lot of time too.
Yeah, I think that's a common theme. I think, Sri, you would agree with that, Sri, right? What are the things you don't like, Sri, living here, retiring here? What are the things you're concerned of? I'm not saying you won't like. What
Yep.
are the things you're concerned of?
I think getting to do a lot of retirement planning, I had to see that it requires decades of further thinking, and I think that's not the same case as, like, just someone with our currency just moving to India and kind of living a happy, lavish lifestyle per se, but it's more requires a lot of planning because you never know what's gonna happen in the market here too. Like, stocks highly sway, like, and determine,
Volatile.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
determine your retirement accounts, and I think that's a huge thing
Right.
that's like a con, and once you retire, you're also growing older, which means you're gonna need more healthcare and more support in that sense. And there's who knows if your kids are going to be around to take care of you. So that might also mean like long term care and things like that. And those tools are very expensive too. So
Mhm.
I think those are some big cons. It's a lot of just money, of course. It all comes back to that. But yeah.
I think this is a very, very important topic. We all have a help us, right? Let's say we are not able to NRIs like me. Of course, you guys are more culturally tied, your roots are tied. It will be difficult for me to retire in India, but it's not impossible, right?
Hmm.
It will be difficult for sure. It's not impossible. I grew up here for 25 years. I grew up in States for 25 years. There is a period of adjustment no matter what. But the option to retire in India is easier nowadays. But if you work in US, you come back to India, it's easier because of the currency exchange and cost of living and all those things. So for me, that is very appealing if I consider to retire in India. But obviously, I'm sacrificing a few things, right? I just need to understand that I may not be able to spend time with kids as much as they want
Hmm.
if I'm living in India. Either they have to travel, I have to travel, those kind of things. And then once you are used to the quality of lifestyle in US, it will be very difficult to adjust to the quality of lifestyle in India. But the
Mhm.
bypass is there. I always can, that's the trump card for all of us, people like me, is that, I can always fall back on going to India and
Hmm.
really comfortably live happily. But there are some cons I need to live with
Hmm.
that, right? So that trump card is always there. So,
Yep.
uh, I think realistically, right, for many people like me, I don't know. I think it's a balance of both the countries. I think. What do you guys think? Do you see your dads living part of their time in India, or do you think they will just travel and uh, see parents or friends and all that. What do you think is your situation? I mean, your dad's situation.
Mhm.
I mean, my dad is actively planning it right now. Like they're building some apartments, and my dad's like looking at his apartments and figuring out which one he wants to build his dream home. So yeah, it's already in the works. Yeah, I think I think I
In
do.
India, you
Yeah,
mean?
in India. Here he's planning on just
Okay.
kind of living with us whenever he's back. I think for him, majority of the time he wants to stay in India. I will say, part of the thing I think everyone's been fearing, even I've been fearing, is at the time of retirement, will we even have enough money saved because of how inflation and everything is going? India might be the easiest option.
What about Sri? What about you?
Yeah, I think both parents have to get on the same page, of course, but they are considering like a half year situation, um, and kind of seeing it like a vacation home in a way. I think that's the best way to see it, honestly. I think that that area should be more for like relaxation purposes and all of that, even though all of retirement is that. I think they're still like dabbling in the idea of where they want to live within the United States and like in India, or if that's an option too. So still time, I think.
Yeah. I think the important takeaway here is we have to be a little flexible, right? When the time comes, right? There are pros and cons in both the places. Um, I mean, your generation, I'm not sure how much they will travel to India and stay there, but at least my generation, right? I'm pretty sure 90% of us, I mean, again, this is a guesstimate, will want to spend some time in India, travel and all that. But one thing I will stay away from is actually buying something here in the hope that I will come and stay once or twice, two
Mhm.
months a year, right? That's just another headache. I don't want to do that. At least personally, I don't want to do that. I would happily rent here. I would happily stay in a Airbnb kind of thing. Even if it is a month, 2 months, it doesn't matter. But it's just a nightmare to manage properties remotely. But a lot of people are doing it. A lot of people have apartments which are easily maintainable. I know some people who have give bought apartments, furnished them well, and then given to like service apartments kind of thing where maintenance is minimum.
Hmm.
If you are ready for that, I think why not? But it's just a lot of headache. I've been trying to do some of my properties, manage my property. Of course, mine is not an apartment; it's independent. Much more, many more problems. So even when I come here, I'm not living in that. I'm just renting and making sure all is equipped and all that. But anyway, I don't want to divert. But in general, I think uh, it is important to understand various factors of impact and plan accordingly. I think the
Mhm.
planning is important. And I think you should not spend too much time. I think, in my view, Sri and Nishi, I've kind of spent too much time dilly-dallying. Where will I retire?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Because
Oops.
that
Love it.
decision itself
Mhm.
will probably, eat you a lot of time, and it's a very expensive decision
Mhm.
because I can't plan without that decision. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right? You have to make plan. What is the risk of not planning right now? Can you think of a few situations? What happens if you don't plan? Okay, let me decide when the time comes.
You can run out of
What do you
money.
think will happen?
You'll run out
Mhm.
of money really fast.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
And then when you want to retire, you don't have money, and then you end up working till you
Like
Die.
die.
die,
Yeah.
right? You don't want to do that, right?
Mhm.
Hopefully not. Uh, Retiring in one country itself is complex. Now we are talking about two countries and doing this, it becomes
Yeah.
really, really difficult.
Mhm.
Now, let's talk about. So, let's say we do want to retire in both countries. How do you plan financially? Where do you kind of build the corpus? How do you do this? Right? Any Any pointers, financial advisor Sri?
I guess wherever that also comes with like your decision and like which currency am I going to primarily be spending? Because like you might be living somewhere,
Mhm.
but you might be purchasing flight tickets in a different currency, or you might be paying for things in a different thing. And we were talking about how different bank accounts you can have in different like zones too. So I think that also depends on that. So which currency? Um, there isn't a better currency. It's just looking at the actual rate and where are you going to spend most of your time at the end of the day. So I think that's what I would look at mostly. Um,
Yeah.
and like making sure your assets are like actually spread out within said currency too, just to make sure you're protecting yourself from like market volatility and all. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think Nishi, I don't know if you agree with that, but I think diversification is a financial factor, right? Sri, like, you diversify in different funds,
Hmm.
different, uh, stocks because of the risk profile. Similarly, diversification in different currency is also kind of helps you with the balance.
Mhm.
Also, I think, one of the things maybe you could also save on, depending on where you plan, is that every time you exchange money from one currency to another currency, you're making the banks rich. Do you realize that? You're paying money to the
Mhm.
banks for just the transaction, right? What is your take, Nishi, on this?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when we're doing like a diversified approach, it's a lot more complex to manage, and there's a lot of like tax complexities and a lot of fees, like you mentioned, but it's a lot more flexible. And it matches, I feel like, the real life spending and expenses that you expect from day to day. Yeah, there's pros and cons to it,
Hmm.
really.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But, think of one important thing, right? If I pick one important
Okay.
thing in diversification, what if the currency flips 1:90 versus 90:1?
Hmm.
Now what happens, right? Diversification is, you have some assets in India, you have some assets. It doesn't matter how it flips,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
you are diversified. If we pick one assumption, one factor, I think that's why we should have both the currencies as much as possible. But I think you can't
Hmm.
put all eggs in one basket anyway. One of the things I think I would do is depend. Let's say I'm spending 3 months a year in India.
Hmm.
Maybe I would have like 1/4 of my assets in US. Sorry, India, and 3/4 of my assets in US. So that
Hmm.
way, my assets are like planning. I'm planning my assets based on, okay, roughly how much time I would live in India versus US, roughly, because that gives me, okay, whenever I'm in US, I will use US money. Whenever I'm in India, I will use Indian money,
Hmm.
and I don't need to worry about exchange rates and all that. Then worst case scenario, if things change, I could move and really make banks rich, but not that rich, right? A little bit rich, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
and yeah, yeah. Are there any tax implications you guys know of, um, while managing both the assets?
In America, we have like estate tax, which is a big thing for retirement planning, making sure like your distribution strategy is properly tax planned so you don't land, so your kids don't land with a massive tax bill once you die too. That's another issue. So there's estate planning. And then there are some like tax advantaged accounts in America. I'm not educated on the retirement accounts in India, but there are like various amount of tools here at least that you can use to look like lessen the tax burden. And also like I bet there are like tax planners and financial advisors in India too, but here I think there is a lot of support in that community because having a higher net worth population too, it's not a stigma to tax plan and do things like that. So I think it's all just resources too. I think knowing what I know, there are more resources here, but also that's changing too. India's developing faster and faster. So it really just depends on what angle you're looking at it from. Yeah.
Good points, very good points. Nishi, you want to add anything?
I can't say I have too much knowledge on taxes, so I can't say I can add too much there, no.
No worries. So let me say a few things here, which I personally discovered recently, right? Uh, One is if you are a NRI who is living in US and you have income in India, right? You have to show taxes. I knew this for long. You have to show that income in the US tax returns,
Mm-hmm.
right? You also need to file Indian taxes if it exceeds certain limit, right? Like there is a bar and you have to file Indian taxes also. So you have to take care of both the taxes. The challenge comes when you become a resident of India, right? And not US. So you are in India, you decided to move there and reside in India and for longer periods, more than like 1 year, 2 years or something.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay taxes for US income in India.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be substantial,
Mm-hmm.
right? That it can get into 40%, 30%, things like that. So I think the bottom line I'm trying to say is the tax situation is a little complex,
Right.
and you need to check with your CPA here, CA there,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure you understand the implications before making any assumptions. Hey, I come back to India and retire. It's not so easy. Don't just jump into conclusion. There are tax implications of that because you need to pay income. If you are resident in India for more than 2 years, you need to pay income on all the US retirement money, all those things. We don't know what. So it's very important to uh, understand the tax implications before making that decision.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So now I think can we jump to like kind of common mistakes we make?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I touched was um, let's figure it out later,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think what is the problem in that? We'll figure it out, right?
Lack of
Any
planning.
pointers, guys?
Lack of
I feel like
planning.
yeah, you
Yeah.
just keep pushing it back and back and back because you never actually want to figure it out until it's too late.
Right, right. It's too late, and you may not be able to do it in many cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
You may not be able to do it. Like in my friend's case, he's going to work till he dies, right? If he wants to support his daughter and all that, right? At least as of now, you decide not to retire in US and come to India. It's not a bad option financially. There are other things you need to adjust. But if you want to go reverse, right? You decide, okay, I plan to retire in India, but suddenly you change your mind. That's going to bite you in the back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not an option. And one of the things I did few years back out of patriotism, I wanted to come to India and just moved here simply, right? And then that created a lot of financial hiccups, and then I wanted to come back. So those are those that's another factor.
Mm-hmm.
And then what else can you guys think of?
Mm-hmm.
Any common mistakes people make?
I feel like it's hard to do now, considering the cost of
Mm-hmm.
it, but underestimating healthcare.
Yeah.
It's a never underestimate how expensive some surgery or some bill can be later in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a huge one. And I think the last one that I was thinking about was just kind of making decisions on your own when you have other people to think about.
Mhm.
Especially if you're going to be retiring with a spouse or with your kids, or like just thinking about proximity too, that's like a big thing. And it kind of ties with like I'll figure it out later concept. It's like we need to like sit down and do it in advance so everyone is on the same page. Right. So yeah, it's a big one.
So I think no plan will go exactly like you planned, right? But at least having a plan gives you the comfort,
Mhm.
right? Okay, this is my plan. Okay, things change, I will figure out. So I think it's a very important topic, and thank you both of you for spending the time and talking about it actively.
Mhm.
I know there are a lot of points which are very thought provoking, right? Hopefully our audience will take them and think about them and plan well with their financial advisors and tax planners. And good luck with planning retirement. And it's very interesting and challenging at the same time. So
Mhm.
the one solution is plan, plan, plan.
Yep, I agree. I think it's one of the most interesting topics that I get to work with people. It's like my favorite thing. Cause like there's just so many strategies and tools to make it like an efficient, and I guess we were talking about taxes and just like money effective way too. So I think it's interesting for sure.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have
Mhm.
a good week ahead, and talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you,
Bye-bye,
everybody.
everyone.